Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hold My Nuggets Incorporated for your 2019 NFL Week 13 pre-game analysis show. I am your host, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. Now, granted, I'm not raising from the shadow realm once again. For some apparent reason, I feel very comfortable sitting down and making videos. But of course, we ain't talking about that right now. Let's talk about what is happening this upcoming week in the NFL. First and foremost, it's gonna have Thursday Night Football Thanksgiving edition. 3 games, all right, early game, the Lions taking on the Bears. The second game, the Bills taking on the Cowboys. The third being the Saints taking on the Falcons. I'm looking at my notes on the laptop now. This way, I don't have to hold anything, and I'm one person who likes to talk with my hands. So now I can do all of the things that I have to do. But we ain't talking about that again. But first and foremost, Thursday night, I should say Thursday afternoon, to kick off the afternoon, the Lions taking on the Chicago Bears in Detroit. I believe this was the rematch of last year's game, if I'm not mistaken. And Chase Daniels started that game for the Bears, if I'm not mistaken. But this particular time around, we're not sure what's going to be happening with Matthew Stafford. I don't believe that he will be playing. At least I didn't see anything, so I think it might end up being Jeff Driscoll still playing. And I'm going to roll with the Bears to win this game on the road. Their defense is playing better. Offensively, there's still a liability, but I think you can run the football against the Lions, at least with the Bears attack. I think they should be able to run the football, and more importantly, I do not see a circumstance in which Allen Robinson really gets covered. You saw him finally get the ball into his hands and put out a very good game last week against the Giants, so maybe he can replicate those same sort of statistics. But ultimately, the name of the game is the defense for the Chicago Bears. I expect Khalil Mack to be a havoc this particular game, especially after last game actually getting, some traction under his feet and putting out a performance that is Khalil Mack-like. So I expect to hear return of the Mack all Thursday afternoon, and I'm going live on Hot Mic for this particular stream, or I should say for this particular game, I will be live on Hot Mic. Then, the second game, I have the Bills taking on the Cowboys in Dallas. This is an interesting game. Had this been in Buffalo, I probably would have chose the Bills, but I think the Cowboys got this one. Yes, the Bills are 8-3. Yes, they just ran for over, over 100? No, I think maybe it was almost 200 yards they ran for this past, well, yeah, it was nearly 200 yards that they ran last week against the Broncos. I don't think that'll be the same case going up against this Dallas front. I think Dallas, although the Bills' defense is very good, I think Ezekiel Elliott will be able to run the football, at least give him positive yardage that puts Dak in third and short situations. Given the fact that Amari Cooper had a atrocious game last game, I think they're going to target him early, target him often. I would not be surprised if he gets targeted at least 10 times and he puts out a 7-reception outing. Now, that's no slight on the Buffalo Bills secondary, because those guys can ball. However, I think Dallas is going to be able to walk away with the W here. I think Jason Witten gets out of his slump, this man's hands being just for decoration. He'll probably have only 50 yards, but he'll be the go-to target on those third down situations, running those option routes, in which he probably has like 870 receptions. I could not tell you if Jason Witten runs any other routes. I think he goes out there, runs the option in or the option out. Regardless, that is majority of the routes that this man runs. I think he'll be able to pick up some first downs for the Dallas Cowboys, keep those drives alive, and ultimately, find their way into the end zone. But they've got to finish in the end zone, because we saw last week in a game that they could have won against New England, they kept having to settle for field goals. That is not what you want if you want to win football games. Now, for the Bills, because I don't believe their run game will be as effective, and it's going to be on Josh Allen to have to throw the football, I would like to see John Brown be as consistent as he has, or put up big-time numbers against this Cowboys defense. All right, I'd like to see Cole Beasley, who's returning back to Dallas for the first time, get the targets that he needs and get open early and get open often. Because this is going to be on the passing attack for the Bills. I do not expect them to walk into, Jerry World and run the football effectively. That's why I'm rolling with the Cowboys, because I've said all season long, I am not sold on the Bills' passing attack. They have impressed me over the course of the past couple of weeks. However, still, I do not believe if the run is completely non-existent, the Bills and Josh Allen can beat you with their arm. I think this will be their best test yet when it comes to being able to throw the football with the run game being completely nullified. Prove me wrong, Buffalo. Prove me wrong. But I'm rolling with them boys to win this game. Because they got thick. They got thick. Amari Cooper, Van Der Esch. Well, is he going to be healthy? Son Lee, Jalen Smith, Tank Lawrence. We're them boys. We going to the Super Bowl. Well, you got to make it to the playoffs first, which I don't see you doing. But, of course, we ain't talking about that right now. Saints traveling to take on the Falcons. Last time we saw these two match up, you saw the Falcons win 26-9, where the Saints completely underperformed. It was a terrible outing for New Orleans. But this time being played, and mind you, New Orleans got smacked in their house by the Falcons. Now they're going to Atlanta. However, the past week, so I should say this past week, Atlanta got absolutely exposed at home against Tampa. And New Orleans is way better than Tampa. So I expect New Orleans to avenge their early season loss, or a few weeks ago, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, avenge that loss, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and get that W back in the division and wrap up the NFC South. All right, I expect New Orleans to go and get that W over there. We've seen Julio Jones, he puts up numbers here and there, but it is subpar to what we see all in the years past. All right, nobody can deny. This season, you never once felt like that. Yo, Julio Jones, he's wilding out. You never once, not once, outside of what, week 2 when they beat the Eagles? Outside of that, you haven't really had that happen. All right, so I'm not sure what to expect from this Falcons offense. You know the run game is virtually non-existent. So it's going to be on Matt Ryan. And you cannot trust that offensive line to protect him. So I expect to see Cameron Jordan and the other guys from the Saints front being able to get into the backfield and put Matt Ryan on the ground. Now, I would love to see Matt Ryan be able to air it out, because this is going to be a game in which he has to air it out, throw for 400 yards, and there should be no problem for him. But I think the lack of protection will cost Atlanta this game. Defensively, I don't think they're going to be able to stop New Orleans the way they did a few weeks back. I think Latavius Murray will give you 50 yards on the ground, and Alvin Kamara will get going through the air and also on the ground, and probably rack up about 120 all-purpose yards and have more yardage through the passing attack than on the ground. And I think because of that, that's going to keep the drives alive, and ultimately you'll find a Ted Ginn in the end zone. You'll find a Mike Thomas in the end zone. You'll find a Jared Cook in the end zone. I think the Saints win this game, and they win this game handily. All right, on Thursday Night Football. We're transitioning to Sunday Night Football. Kicking it all off, we got an AFC South matchup between the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts inside Indianapolis. Now, this game has a lot of things that are on the line here. Not only trying to keep pace in that AFC South, but also trying to get into that wild card. Because both these teams are 6-5. The Steelers, being at the 6th seed, are 6-5. Oakland is also 6-5. So because of all of this, all of these teams need to be able to at least keep pace with each other to, if they don't win their divisions, they'll at least be able to make it into, the wild card. So, from what I'm seeing here, in this particular game, on the road, Tennessee going, I'm not sure I can choose them to win. I want to say I'm going to pick the Colts to win, but this is one of those games in which it can go either way. It really can go either way. I have mixed feelings about it. I feel very antithetical about this, because I look at it like, all right, I have the Colts, who, with Jonathan Williams running the football, ran for over 100 last week against the Texans. But then T.Y. Hilton, he's continuing. Is he healthy? Is he not? His hands were just for decoration. What are we going to get in the passing attack? Because if T.Y. is not going to be T.Y., then you got to roll with Tennessee. And now, at the same time, Tennessee going on the road, are you going to have the elite play of Derrick Henry, or is he going to end up reverting back to, well, this game I'm not going to be able to run through no holes, or I'm not going to see the hole that's open, and I'm going to try to make something and bounce it to the outside rather than running in between the tackles. So we're not sure which Tennessee team is going to show up. I'm just going to go out, and because I have to make a choice of who's going to win, I think I'm going to take the Titans on the road. All right? Now, granted, the Colts have always had the Titans number, but I don't know, man. I do not know. I think I'm going to roll with the Titans to win this game. This is one of those games that could go either way, man. It could go either way. Like right now, I'm thinking to myself, no, pick the Colts. This can go either way. It's a toss-up. Whoever the hell win, you deserve to win. Let's just go with that. But I think I'm going to lean more towards Tennessee and watch them lose. I would not be surprised. Every time I pick Tennessee, they mess around and lose. So I'm going to choose Tennessee to win and watch how the Colts win. Come back here and say, oh, yo, the Colts won. Like, yeah, I figured that. Jets taking on the Bengals in Cincinnati. I think this is going to be a game in which the Bengals do win, but Le'Veon Bell always has great games against the Bengals. So I'm rolling with the Jets to win this game. I think Le'Veon has the best outing of this season. I do not believe in that Cincinnati pass rush, so I expect Sam Darnold to have time in the pocket, and because he does, maybe he'll go and throw for another 3 touchdowns. Maybe he won't turn the football over. Maybe he makes the right sort of decisions and continues to try his best to not see Casper the Ghost. For Cincinnati, you need the run game. You need the run game this particular game. Because if it becomes, the passing attack for Ryan Finley again, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to have a bad time. I think it's not a far-gone conclusion. I shouldn't say it's not too far-fetched to say that Andy Dalton does return into the game at one point this season. It's not too far-fetched to come to that conclusion. I think he'll end up being in a relief effort and leading the Bengals to their first win of the season, but not this particular game. I got the Jets winning this. I think their defense will be able to get after Cincinnati, and more importantly, Jamal Williams might mess around and get himself an interception, forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. I think he's going to have an all-world kind of game. So I'm choosing the Jets to win this game on the road. Redskins taking on the Panthers. This is interesting because everything in my soul wants to pick the Panthers, but for some apparent reason, I think this could be an upset alert sort of situation. I think that the Redskins' run game will get going this particular game. I do not know why. I just feel in my spirit, Adrian Peterson, Darius Geis, they will get going, and they'll make this game interesting. And the kicking game, what's going to be the status of Joey Sly, trying to kick the ball through the uprights? Will he miss extra points? Will he miss field goals? Will he miss field goals in crunch time? Run CMC is going to do his thing. I think this is his game. But for some apparent reason, I feel like Kyle Allen might just underperform. He might just underperform. In my mind, I really want to upset alert, but the Panthers are a desperate football team right now. They need wins. Back-to-back weeks, they lost games that they could have won. So, they lost to Green Bay 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Well, Green Bay, they could have won, should have won. And against New Orleans, could have won, should have won. Those 2 losses, big time. Big time. So they have to avenge those losses. But I think Washington's going to make it interesting. I think this is one of those games just like Tennessee and Indianapolis. It could go either way. I'm going to go with the safe selection and choose the Panthers. However, if the Redskins do win, I would not be surprised. I can guarantee you this. They will make it interesting. Let me not say guarantee, because then when I say guarantee, it's going to mess around and they get blown out. Just like I felt about, Green Bay taking on the 49ers. I thought the Green Bay was going to blow out the 49ers. That was not the deal. But I'm rolling with the Panthers to win this game. Safe selection. But if the Redskins do pull off the victory, I would not be surprised. Game of the week. 49ers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. All right, now this is interesting. First and foremost, it's in Baltimore. So I would expect Baltimore to go out and, do what they do best in Baltimore, and that's walk away with W's. However, with the injury of their center now being put on injured reserve, that gives me some cause to pause because the 49ers are leading the league in sacks. They can get after the quarterback with a 4-man rush. Will the backup center play well enough to, nullify that 49ers pass rush? Now, I know what you're saying. Well, he got hurt in the second quarter, I believe. And what happened? No, it was the first quarter. And what happened? You saw Aaron Donald ain't get after the quarterback. Well, fair enough. However, let's all look at it like this. The 49ers pass rush is way better than the Rams pass rush. Now, when you look at the names on the Rams, front line, you'll be like, whoa, wait a minute. Those guys individually may be better. Yes, but as a collective, the 49ers are firing on all cylinders. All right? I'm concerned about how those tackles will be able to block Nick Bosa. How they're going to be able to block Buckner. How they're going to be able to block those other guys up front. Now, can the Ravens' run game get going? I do not think this is a game in which you'll see a Mark Ingram get going, a Gus Johnson get going, a justice, he'll get going. Hell, I think the leading rusher for this particular game will be Lamar Jackson again, but I do not see him being able to, murder that defense the same way he did to the Rams. Now, this isn't no slight on Lamar Jackson. In my opinion, he's just taking the lead in the MVP race. However, something about this San Francisco defense really makes me think they'll be able to take away, the Ravens. Because granted, I don't see Hollywood Brown being able to beat those safeties, one-on-one. Because Hollywood Brown doesn't give you a ton of, receptions and yardage. It's just, all right, I make this big reception here, and then I'm pretty much gone for the rest of the game. I'll give you two touchdowns, but I'm only going to catch, 4 balls. Not to say that's a bad thing, because if you do get 2 scores out of that, that's sensational. Touchdowns, I'll take 2 touchdowns over 20 receptions and no scores, and you mess around and lose the game. All right, but I think the 49ers defense, that secondary, Richard Sherman taking away the Hollywood Brown, taking away the Willie Snead, taking away all of those other targets. But for the Ravens, as always, they've got to get to their tight ends, which they're going to do their best to make sure that they can. But I'm sure that the 49ers will be able to take that away. Offensively, Jimmy G's going to be in for a battle. All right, because I expect the Ravens to get after him all day. That run game of Raheem Mostert, of Matt Breida, of I'm forgetting what the other running back's name was, but all of those guys, I don't expect this to be a running sort of situation happening on this game, but I do expect them to give them like 5 yards on the ground per possession, or I should say per 3 plays, and then set up like a 2nd and short or 3rd and short sort of situation. I think Jimmy G will be able to find the George Kittles, will be able to find the Emmanuel Sanders, will be able to find the Deebo Samuels, and utilize these guys to slowly and methodically go down the field. I don't expect this to be a high-scoring game by any estimation. I think it'll be like a 17-13, 20-14, 16-13 sort of situation. I think each team is going to have more field goals than touchdowns. But I'm rolling I'm going to go lean towards Baltimore to, matter of fact, no, you know what? I think the 49ers got this. Baltimore is playing like the best team in the AFC. The 49ers is the best team in the NFC. Ah, boy. God, this is tough. Okay. I'm going to go San Francisco. I'm going to lean towards San Francisco. I want to pick Baltimore so bad, but I think I'm going to lean towards San Francisco. Baltimore beats San Francisco. They're undoubtedly the best team in the NFL. Nobody else has to dispute it. There's no question. But the Patriots have a better record. No. Baltimore beats San Francisco. Baltimore's the best team in the NFL by far. All right, but I'm going to lean more towards San Francisco for this particular game. Next, the Buccaneers taking on the Jags in Jacksonville. This will be interesting because the Jags are an opportunistic defense, not as good as they were 2 years ago by any estimation, not even as good as they were last year. But I think they'll be able to intercept Jameis pick 6, Jameis Apple turnovers Winston multiple times, and I think the Buccaneers will not be able to get it going offensively. I think there will be some touchdowns here and there, but the game will already be out of reach. And on top of that, I think this will be one of those games in which you do see a Leonard Fournette run for over 150 yards. So I'm rolling with Jacksonville to win this game. For Tampa, like I said, I think Jameis is just going to turn the football over. I don't expect him to have a very good run of attack. Now, granted, this coming against a Jacksonville team that just saw Derrick Henry absolutely molest them when it came to the run game. But that's just Derrick Henry whenever he plays against the Jags. That's just completely different. All right, I don't think that Jags defense will allow, Ronald Jones or Peyton Barber to get going. I think that Jags front will shut down that run game, force Jameis to become one-dimensional, and the more pass attempts that Jameis takes, the higher the propensity of him throwing an INT is. So I think I'm rolling with Jacksonville to win this game. I think DJ Shark will be the player of the game. St. Nick probably connects with him twice for TDs. Then we have I'll talk about the Browns and the Steelers last. Giants and the Packers. The Packers traveling to the Meadowlands. The Packers, I want to say there's some concern because of the injury to Brian Bulaga, but I don't see the Giants being able to, go hand in hand with that Packers offense. I think they're going to explode And, you know, it's going to be a ton of necrophilia in the Meadowlands. I think Aaron Rodgers throws for 5 touchdowns. It'll probably be the same sort of performance that he had against Oakland early in the year. I think it's just going to be one of those virtuoso performances that makes you say, whoa, wait a minute, let's insert him back into the MVP conversation. So I'm rolling with the Packers to win this game. Danny Dimes, him being at home, I would like to see the Giants offense get going a little bit better. Over the course of the last 3 games, I think Saquon Barkley hasn't had over 100 yards. It's just been terrible. And I don't see him being able to go out and have a great performance, on the ground against this Packers team that just got destroyed against the San Francisco 49ers. I think they bounce back and they win this game handily in the Meadowlands. I'm rolling with the Packers to win this game. Eagles taking on the Dolphins. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick can pull some magic out of his ass, but I think the Eagles bounce back because they understand every game is a must-win game. And last year they were in this exact same position, and they were able to rally and make their way into the playoffs. But again, like I said, dealing with Dallas, knowing Dallas's situation with the upcoming games, and the Eagles probably understanding that they've got to run the table, I think the Eagles win this game. This would be a trap game had the Eagles won last week against Seattle, but because they didn't, I think I'm rolling with the Eagles to win this game. All right, they're on the road. They're going to Miami, but nobody's really worried about playing in Miami outside of New England. And you saw them earlier this season. They had no issue with that. Granted, Antonio Brown was there. And catch the ball and then rape a woman. Oh, wait a minute. Allegedly. I'm not one to go do that. I apologize for my outburst. But still, from what I see, I don't see the Eagles being stopped this particular game. I think they will get it going on the ground. I think they're going to run the football, whether that's Miles Sanders. I do not think Jordan Howard will be back yet. But whoever the hell is going to be running the football, I expect them to be able to run well, take that pressure off of Carson Wentz, and guys just got to catch the football. But again, I think Zach Ertz over 10 targets for sure. Because he's been averaging, I think, about 11 targets over the course of the last 4 games. So I expect Zach Ertz to get going. But I got the Eagles winning this game on the road. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick probably gives a couple to the Eagles. And I'm a little bit worried about that offensive line for Miami. I'm not sure if they can protect him as good as he'll need them to. Rams taking on the Cardinals. NFC West matchup. The Cardinals, this is a team that can mess around and pull off the upset. All right, and pull off that W. But I'm rolling with the Rams to win. I think the Rams and Sean McVay, although they have been somewhat figured out thus far this season, I think they're in desperation mode. Every game is a must-win. And Aaron Donald usually has very good games against the Cardinals. So I think his performance will keep Kyler Murray off of the field, and Todd Gurley will get going. So I'm rolling with the Rams to win this game. Jared Goff has been looking like a liability. He's only thrown 11 touchdowns and thrown, I think, 12 INTs. He's got to play better. But Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett, all of those guys, I think they'll be able to, and Joey, is it Joey Reynolds? I think that's his name. But I think that'll just be too much for the Cardinals, secondary to be able to cover. So I got the Rams winning this game. But Aaron Donald, it'll be a virtuoso performance from him. Chargers taking on the Broncos. Last time these two teams played, the Broncos walked away with the W. I think the Chargers will bounce back. Now, the Broncos defense, I saw somebody commented on the post-game analysis like, hey, they were ranked, in a certain sort of number. But again, I saw somebody responding to them saying they were somewhat overrated, which they were. All right. But I think the Chargers, in a situation in which we saw Phillip Rivers throw a ton of picks over the course of his last, few games, I don't think he'll bounce back. But I think he'll do enough to where this team is able to beat this Broncos front. I think the Broncos, or I should say, I think the Chargers will be able to run the football. I think Melvin Ingram gets going, probably gets you about 70 yards. And I think Austin Elka coming out of the backfield gets himself a good number of yards, whether it's on a swing pass or a hook pass or a curl pass, whatever the deal may be. I got the Chargers winning this game. I think the running backs will be the name of the game. I don't expect Keenan Allen to do much on this particular game, but Hunter Henry, he's been getting targeted a lot. So can the Broncos go out there and cover Hunter Henry? I think he'll probably mess around and have about 60 yards, but maybe 2 TDs. So I'm rolling with the Chargers to win on the road. And I'm a little bit concerned about this Broncos, run attack, because Phillip Lindsay has been subpar this season. Brandon Allen, nobody's afraid of this man. So they're going to stack the box, take Lindsay out of the game, and then force Brandon Allen to get the ball to his receivers, which is pretty much only Cortland Sutton. So I'd like to see what that guy is going to do. I think he's going to throw the ball into the hands of the Chargers defense a couple times, mess around and even throw a pick six to Desmond King or Casey Hayward, whatever the deal may be. And also, I think Derwin James is back for this game as well. At least he started practicing. But whatever the case may be, I got the Chargers winning on the road. Raiders taking on the Chiefs. AFC West battle in Kansas City. You know what? Everybody says, well, the Chiefs gonna mess around and pull it off. I do not think so. I think those Gruden grinders walk in there and they walk out with a W. I think it's gonna be an emphatic win as well. Well, not one of those blowout sort of situations, but the fourth quarter, I think the Raiders will be able to pull away. Earlier in the season, we saw the Raiders up 10-0, only to lose 28-10. They could not finish. They started right, they started fast, but they could not finish. I think the Raiders will be able to play 4 quarters this particular game. Yes, I understand they just got smoked on the road against, the Jets. But I think the Raiders bounce back. I do expect to see Travis Kelce have a very good game. I think Mahomes will be under duress all day. The run game, I think, is going to be nullified. I don't think Kansas City will run the football effectively. And I think Oakland will continue to keep pace with them. It's all on the shoulders of Derek Carr. All right, Derek Vehicle got to go out there and play very well. Josh Jacobs is going to do what he does, but Derek Carr got to protect the football. If Derek Carr do not throw INTs, they win this game. They win this game. I believe in the Gruden Grinders. I think they take down the Chiefs and move into first place in that AFC West. I'm rolling with the Raiders. That is my woo-woo upset alert of the week. Then Patriots taking on the Texans in Sunday Night Football. Both times these teams played each other, or I should say the first game was an instant classic. The last game, which was the beginning of the season last year, not so much of a classic, but this game in Houston, I think Houston pulls off that upset and wins against the Patriots. However, I'm a little bit concerned about their defense. You know what? Now that I think about it, their pass rush is really just going to be Whitney Merciless. You know what? That lack of defense, that gives me a little bit of a cause to pause. Because offensively, I think they'll be able to take the Patriots. Stephon Gilmore, although he's been locking everybody up and he is a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, Deandre Hopkins, DeAndre Hopkins might just get him this game. I think he gets a TD, maybe one of those 5 receptions, 60 yards and a score. Will Fuller, if he can stay healthy throughout the entire game, I think his presence can be felt. Deshaun Watson will make big plays, and on top of that, they're playing at home. I think offensively they'll be able to keep pace, but it's on this Texans defense. There's nothing that has to be said about the Patriots. We all know what they're going to go out there and try to do. You just saw Jonathan Williams run for over 100 on that defense last week on Thursday night. So I would expect Sony Michel or Rex Burkhead or everybody else collectively to be able to run for over 100. And as I always say, if you give the Patriots that running option, they're an extremely tough team to beat, because Brady now has access to the entire playbook. And on top of that, I don't expect to see the Patriots drop the football the same way that the Colts messed around and did. So, you know what? I'm going to stick with my gut. I'm going upset alert. I'm choosing the damn Texans to win this game. Doggone, I am choosing the Texans to win this game. I am planting my feet into the dirt of the upset alert. And on Monday Night Football, the Vikings traveling to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Big time game, but it's in Seattle. Because it's in Seattle, I'm rolling with the Seahawks to win. It's hard to win in CenturyLink. It is hard to win in CenturyLink. I don't expect Dalvin Cook to have a big game on the ground. However, through the air, I think he will get going. All right, I think there's one of those games similar to what I said earlier about Alvin Kamara. I think on the ground, Dalvin Cook probably gets you about 40, 50 yards, but through the air, he mess around and gets you 70. I think Kirk Cousins will be playing good in the first and third quarter. Second and fourth, I think he turns the football over and makes some bad decisions. All right, I think Russell Wilson will have, as always, his great performances. Tyler Lockett, I believe he will be back. So I expect him to have a very good game. DK Metcalf, you can't do bonehead sort of decisions. And on top of that, we've seen all season Xavier Rhodes get flagged for pass interference or some sort of defensive holding or something like that. So I think that trend will continue. I'm choosing the Seahawks to win on the road. Now, finally, Pittsburgh taking on the Cleveland Browns in Pittsburgh. We might as well call Pittsburgh Cerulean City because it appears that Misty is sending out ducks, and there will be ducks on the field. And Psyduck, Devlin, Quack Quack, Hodges will be starting. Mason Rudolph is on the bench. Now, this is a playoff implication game, and as far as I'm concerned, for Pittsburgh and Cleveland, every week moving forward is a playoff game. You cannot afford to lose whatsoever. I'm choosing the Steelers to win this game at home because I believe they will bounce back. Defensively, they kept that Browns offense in check whenever they had to, they didn't have, favorable, field position. All right, I don't expect to see turnover, central happening in this particular game. Now, there is questions regarding, the availability of a Juju Smith-Schuster, the availability of a James Conner. From what I saw, I believe they should be good to go, but granted, today is only Wednesday, so anything can change in the coming days. But there is a bit of concern that I have for that offensive line, given that Marquise Pouncey is not there for his second game away on suspension. So it would be favorable for Pittsburgh to have him in there, and that Browns pass rush is coming. However, there is no Myles Garrett, so there is right now leading the AFC. I believe it is T.J. Watt with the most sacks. He overtook Myles Garrett, so I'm concerned about that. The Browns pass rush. Granted, they got after Ryan Fitzpatrick last game. They're not. I don't expect that same thing to happen against the Steelers this time. And on top of that, they're playing in Pittsburgh. Defensively, you saw Odell Beckham struggle. Outside of that one catch that he had early in the first quarter, he virtually did not do too much. I think there was just another catch to move the chains, and outside of that, he didn't do too much. Jarvis Landry, he had, I believe he had the touchdown. Yeah, he did have the touchdown and had a couple of receptions here and there. But I think that Pittsburgh is going to be able to catch a couple of INTs. I think Hayden gets his hand on the football. Fitzpatrick gets his hand on the football. I think Mike Hilton plays a sensational game. And I think those linebackers will be able to stop the run. That is what the name of the game for the Browns will be. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, those guys have to get going. If they don't get going and it becomes a Baker show, I do not think Baker will be able to, go out there and sling it left and right against this Steelers defense. Now, let's flip the script. Look at the offense of Pittsburgh with Devlin Hodges in there. You can take shots down the field. I remember the last time when the Browns played against Pittsburgh, the deep ball was just not on cue. There was a ton of passes deep that should have been receptions, that could have been touchdowns, but it just was not on cue. And the only touchdown drive that was led by Mason Rudolph, there was about like 4 flags on there. All right, so can James Conner or Snell or Samuels go out there and run the football? Guys gonna have to nut up and go out there and play. I believe that Mike Tomlin will have the adjustments ready. I don't think is going to be a ton of flags coming from the Steelers side. I think the Browns will still lean on that bravado of, hey, this is what happened. We don't like you guys. And we saw all year long the Browns shoot themselves in the foot with penalties. I think that will ultimately cost them. I think they'll make plays, but there'll be a holding call. I think they'll catch an INT, but there'll be illegal hands to the face. I think every time the Browns mess around and make a big-time play, there'll be laundry on the field. And for that particular reason, I'm rolling with the Steelers to win this game. So let me roll down the list, let you know who I believe is winning. I got the Bears taking down the Lions, the Bills taking down the Cowboys, pardon me, the Cowboys taking down the Bills, the Saints taking down the Falcons, the Titans over the Colts, the Jets beating the Bengals, the Panthers over the Redskins. It can go either way. All right, the Ravens over the 49ers. All right, the Buccaneers losing to the Jags, the Steelers beating the Browns, the Packers beating the Giants, the Eagles beating the Cardinals beating the Rams, pardon me, the Eagles beating the Dolphins, the Cardinals beating the Rams, Chargers beating the Broncos, Raiders beating the Chiefs, Houston beating the Patriots. Seattle over Minnesota. Those are my picks for your 2019 NFL Week 13 pregame analysis show. I have been your host, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. Let me know who you think will win this upcoming week. Hey, we may disagree on it. Let me know why you think I may be wrong or who you think will win. Either way, I'm excited for football. I think this week can be one of the better weeks of football, but nonetheless, this time I actually am headed to the shadow room. I did not come from it, but I'm going to head to it. So I think I'm going to have to jump out this chair or something like that to make it seem like I'm going instead of just doing the Alice of Black, fade to black. So you know what? I'm just going to like lean. I'm making it seem just lean out of frame. Oh, damn, the chair is still in frame. That just showed that there's a chair in the shadow room. You know what? I'll just lower the chair. I'll bring the chair down with me. There it is. The chair's elevated. Now it's coming down with me. The chair's coming to the shadow room. Now we can fade to black. There we go. There we go.